Hello and welcome to the Strong Friend Podcast with Jack and Lewis. Today, we get very motivational. We talk about negative thoughts and how to deal with them. Now, if you have a friend who's always bringing the vibe down, who always knows how to think about the worst case scenario, send this to them. And if that's you, pay close attention. Let's get into the video.
So, Jack, how's your week been then, mate?
It's been tough. It's been a real tough week, mate. Last week was, as I said in the last podcast, really tough as well. I think it takes longer than a week to recover when you've been hit that hard with different stresses, different stress in life. And not just that, I was also pretty ill last week. So not just mentally, but physically, you're drained.
Yeah.
And I found that really challenging because usually I'd go out, I'd go to work, I'd see people, so it'd at least take your mind off it. But with the current situation, if you have any sort of a cold, you have to stay in and self-isolate and not see anyone. So I think I really struggled with not being able to go to the office, not being able to talk to people, not being able to have that interaction.
Yeah.
And I think that just made everything this very vicious cycle, I'd say.
Yeah, when you've got stress physically and emotionally like that, then it just makes you all around and feel horrible, basically, doesn't it?
It does, mate. It does. What about you? How's your week been?
Been a bit of a tough one, to be honest, mate, because I've been worrying about overthinking, being negative about the podcast. As we both know, we've had a bit of a situation in the week where I was worrying because the podcast was introduced to our friends, I think, probably before I was ready, and I think that's when the negative self-talk started to come in, and I was thinking, are they going to listen to it and be laughing at me? Are they going to be thinking this and this? And I was just creating scenarios in my head that just weren't the truth at all, when in reality, that's the whole idea of the podcast, is to get across these issues. So there was really no reason to worry, but I think there's been times, I think overthinking and negative self-talk's so normal to me that it's very, very easy to get caught up on it, if you know what I mean.
Well, I think your biggest problem this week was the fact that not only did you have the negative self-talk, it was the fact that you didn't, you lost control of your body as well as your mind.
Yeah.
So when your mind goes into the cycle of negativity, usually you can do things that can not snap you out of it, but that can almost take you, give you a bit of relief.
Yeah.
And I think your problem was you lost that ability to go to the gym, to eat healthily, to go for a walk. You just lost that ability. So.
And that's what I was going to say is I'm a big believer in physical recovery in terms of like you say exercise, and I've always had a very body-based approach to anxiety, whereas when you get swept away like that, it's kind of like you get taken away from your body and you get stuck up here. And being stuck up there isn't a very, very nice place at times, especially when you get caught off guard, which I massively did.
Well, I think... So I'm going to go back to one thing that you said, and that is I wasn't ready. And within your mind, I don't think you'll ever be ready. Because there's so many things in life that you're not ready for that sometimes you just have to take that step. And when that happens in life, that's when you learn the most about yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you never take them steps, if you never take that leap, if you never take that jump, then you won't learn what your body's going to be like in that situation. And if you let your mind constantly dictate the way that you act and the way that you feel, if you let that negative part of your brain do that, you'll never actually achieve or do anything of real impact. So I think sometimes with you especially, you need to run before you can walk. You need to just take that leap of faith. And this ties in perfectly to this week's topic, because this week's topic is negative talk and overthinking and how they link together, and also the things that we do to try and combat that. So when do you think the first time was where you were seriously caught in your head with negative thoughts, where negative thoughts just plagued your head?
It was when I was really young. It was when my sister was born, so I would have been about 5 or 6 years old, I think.
Yeah.
And as humans, we have a natural reaction to negative self-talk,
Yeah.
negative situations. And at this age, I didn't even really know what was going on, obviously. And I know I always bring it up, but it's because it's been the biggest trauma in my life. And I really do feel like that was the root cause of my anxiety, was being 5 years old and not knowing if your sibling is going to live or die, and that's what the doctors are telling you. You're obviously going to start thinking negatively. So I really do feel like that was the first time where the negative self-talk and the overthinking became way out of control, and I feel that that's something that maybe I've carried on into my adult life.
Yeah.
Well, not maybe. I know that it definitely has.
I think that with that situation, one of the big stems, one of the big seeds of negative self-talk comes from childhood.
Yeah.
And it comes from the way that you're raised, and it comes from what kind of experiences you've had as a child, as a young teenager, because they definitely shape your mentality of the future. Now, when you're fed negativity, of course your brain is going to absorb that. And when you're at such a young age, you're so impressionable, that's all you're taking in.
Yeah.
All you're taking in is that pure negativity. And then in your mind, that's just an echo chamber. So when you're young, you're just, as soon as you imagine just dripping a little bit of negativity, that'll just create an ocean of thoughts, of wild thoughts as your brain's developing. And it'll teach you to always, as you said, it is human instinct, but it'll teach you to always look at the worst case scenario.
Yeah, but that was what I was going to say as well. As part of my recovery program from anxiety, it taught you that back in the Stone Age, when we were in the African savannah, thinking about the worst case scenario was what kept us alive.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really have too much of a use in this day and age, because we are living in the safest period to be alive. You know, we're not walking around, there's not tigers walking around outside my house or anything like that. It's kind of like, have you ever had that feeling where, especially I suppose in London, you walk around a lot, if you're walking around and it's dark and you suddenly get a horrible feeling that something's behind you?
Yeah.
And that is the perfect example.
Yeah.
And you create a scenario that isn't real at all. It's fake. You know, you're perfectly safe, but you're just perceiving the threat. And I feel like that does tie into negative self-talk and overthinking for sure. It's physical as well as mental.
I couldn't agree with you more, because when you have this wave of negativity, you believe that is real. You forget that there's other possibilities out there that could be just as true. Your brain automatically goes to that negative one and says, no, this has got to be it. This has got to be it.
Yeah.
And it's a horrible, horrible place to be. And it takes so much. It probably takes twice as much effort to think about the positive than to go with what the body and the mind would automatically do, which is the negative.
Yeah, definitely.
And one of the things that I've been doing recently, just to try and combat that, is there's a phrase that is, I'd rather be an optimist and wrong than a pessimist and right. And I have to repeat that to myself 3 or 4 times a day, just because of how often my brain automatically is a pessimist.
Yeah.
And it teaches me that just because you see that possibility of a negative outcome doesn't mean you have to live your life like that.
Yeah, and it's so... there's a quote that I know, and it says, I think it's from Dr. Peter Levine. He's like one of the highest trauma-based specialists in the world that believes in the body approach, and he says, just because a situation may be a possibility, it doesn't mean that it's a probability.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's so important to understand, because once you really get your head around that concept, you realise that, yeah, it could happen maybe one in a million times, but that doesn't mean that it's going to happen. I mean, it's very possible I could buy a lottery ticket tonight and win. Doesn't mean that... And I'm not obsessing over that. I'm not thinking, this is definitely the time that I'm going to win. So I feel, it's important to understand that and really take it in, because it's one of the concepts for me that... I mean, me and you've been doing this a long time, haven't we, dealing with mental health, and the very fact that even now we still get swept into those thoughts means that they are powerful and people do struggle with them.
Well, I think we are attracted to thoughts that make a situation more extravagant than it is.
Yeah.
So, for instance, if you are thinking about, if you're going skydiving, the immediate thought is that the parachute will fail and you'll die, because it's the most extravagant thing. We're attracted to the biggest plots of our stories. We're so egotistical that we'll go to what's the biggest drama that we can have.
Yeah.
And that's the most natural. I'll lean towards that, because 9 times out of 10,
I hope it's more than 9 times out of 10.
I just thought that. I was like, ooh, that's a lot of people. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. It's probably like 1 in a million, 1 in a billion. Yeah. that parachute's not coming out.
So the fact that we're so attracted to believing that it's us that are going to die, like it's us.
Yeah.
I think it just shows that we're so attracted to us being that. We love being that one. Like we love being the person in the story that everything goes wrong.
Yeah. It's almost like an addiction to suffering, almost.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Completely right, mate. Completely right. So you've got this side of the brain that is just purely feeding this negative narrative in your life.
Yeah.
That X is going to go wrong. X is going to go wrong. X is going to go wrong. Now, we have this, but we do also have the positive side, which is this could go brilliantly.
Yeah.
It's just that most of the time, something going brilliantly isn't that interesting. If something goes perfectly well, it's not really that interesting.
Yeah.
It's not that exciting. If everything worked out the way it should do, you wouldn't have much excitement in your life.
You wouldn't, would you? Yeah.
But sometimes you need that. You need that, it's probably just nothing.
Yeah.
So there's a story about how a lot of people try to envision their negative thoughts as a person, or as a being, or as they try and visualize it to allow them to accept it better. Now, when you've got a negative side, you've also got a positive side.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing I was ever taught was you're always going to have both sides. They're always going to be there. So when you're giving a platform, when you're giving the microphone to this negative person, don't just hold it there. You've got to also give the microphone to the positive person. Let them talk. Let them give you some possibilities of the future. And that's why I have to repeat that phrase to myself, which is rather be an optimist and wrong. I have to keep saying that. Even if I don't mean it, even if I don't truly mean it in my head, I will just keep saying it, because I will keep giving that microphone to that side. And so I've got tattoos, and my tattoos symbolize the duality of life, in the sense that you've got one side of me which is based around negativity, it's based around suffering, and I've got another side that's based around positivity and about strength and great things. That teaches me and that reminds me that whenever I get lost in my negative side, I always have my positive side with me. No matter where I go, I will have this for life. That is the reason that I got this tattoo. That is the reason that I've got them. This is why it means so much to me. It's because when this side takes over and when it gets very, very loud, when it gets feels like it's controlling me, I always have this other side. Whether I like it or not, whether I believe it's there or not, it's there on me now.
That's
forever.
really powerful, because that's literally a physical manifestation of what we're talking about. And
I needed that.
yeah.
People ask why I chose to get tattooed, and it's because if I didn't have that, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Yeah.
I really wouldn't. And for everyone listening, if you are really struggling with negative thoughts, try to visualize what I'm talking about. If you have that voice in your head that is constantly negative, that is constantly giving you a terrible narrative to live your life, draw it out. Draw what you envision, that person, that voice in your head, draw it. Make it artistic. Whatever you think they look like, whatever they act like, draw it.
Yeah.
The same with the positive side. Draw it. Draw what you think. In your head, you will then visualize a negative and a positive person.
Yeah.
Whenever you're having them negative thoughts, you can think of it coming from this drawing that you have. Even give it a name. If you've got a positive person, visualize it. Give it a name. These are going to be with you for the rest of your life. It's who you choose to give the mic to that will dictate how you live your life. So that's how that's one of the biggest changes I ever made to dealing with negative self-talk.
Yeah. Well, I really like that, Jack, because what you're saying there is, again, it's a physical manifestation of what you're going through in your mind. And I really like the idea of your tattoos, and I feel like you will... I've seen the tattoos myself, and they're intense. Very intense. And they're too... I feel like they're too intense for some people to really appreciate, whereas people like us, we look at them and I'm like, yeah, I completely understand. But yeah, I love it, man. I also feel like when you're talking about negative self-talk, I just want to add there to people listening, is the physical side. It's if you're sitting there, lying in bed with negative thoughts and they're not going away, they're not just going to go away if you just sit there and just dwell on them over and over and over again. You need to get yourself moving. And I feel like even just a walk around the park, a walk around the block is better than sitting at home, lying in your bed, watching Netflix and doing all this, which is exactly what I did the other day when we were on about the podcast, because that really took me by surprise. But the point is that eventually you start moving again. And then when you start moving, these internalized horrible emotions that you're having suddenly turn into positives, because you're allowing the emotions to flow through the body and the mind. Whereas when you're just sitting there, you're just frozen. So I really think it's important to do stuff like exercise, to do stuff like speaking, like what I did with you. I spoke to you, rang you, talked it out with you, got another person's perspective. And I feel like that's so important when you're going through overthinking and negative self-talk, is to get a trusted person's perspective on it. Because after I spoke to you, I realised that I can't believe I've been worrying about this, when in reality this is just something I've made up in my mind. It's not been a reality at all. I'm getting stressed over nothing. I rang you and you had a completely different set of problems on your mind, and I was thinking, why isn't Jack freaking out about this and all the rest of it? But then I realised that it's all perception, and my perception was very wrong that day. But the important thing is that you can get out of it very, very easily. But I chose not to, for some self-sabotage reason, I don't know.
Well, everyone says that the most powerful voice that you can ever hear is in your own head.
Yeah.
And I'm going to throw another quote out there that says, don't let your worst enemy live between your ears. And when I was back in sort of high school time, I had a lot of people feeding me a lot of negativity.
Yeah, you did, didn't you?
And they were close people, and there were some people who I hated, and they were feeding it to me. I had a lot of negativity being forced upon me. Now, when you're in that situation, when you have just that drip feed of negativity, time almost slows down.
Yeah.
Because it goes back to what you were talking about with the physicality of it. Time feels like it takes twice as long.
Yeah.
You're in bed and you're watching something. You look at your phone and you're like, okay, it's 1953. You watch something. You look again and you're like, oh, it's been about an hour. 1954.
Yeah.
And that's how it feels.
Yeah, it does.
Because not only are these people feeding this negativity to you, you're then internalizing that, and that's your dialogue about yourself.
Yeah.
You've taken that. So I was taking what every person was saying about me, and I believed that was true. I believed that was my reality and that was my truth. And because of that, I took what people were saying and I amplified it.
Yeah.
And I gave it the microphone. And when you don't have them positive people in your life, or at least just listening to positive YouTube videos, if you don't have positive thoughts in your life, that microphone will always stay on that negative person or on that negative thought.
100%, yeah. And that's what I was going to... Yeah, go on, carry on.
With what you were saying is that you rang me to try and get a different perspective.
Yeah.
Okay, so I gave you a positive perspective. If you don't have a person that you can trust, that you can ring, that you can ask to try and get this microphone away from this person, go on YouTube and look at some motivational videos.
David Goggins comes to mind when you say this, because going back to the physical aspect of it, you can quickly shift your state from feeling unmotivated and lazy. You put one of his videos on and bang, you're ready to go. You want to go to the gym, you want to do this, you want to do that, you want to smash the hell out of life. And that's sometimes how you've got to be. You don't want to let it rule. Like I've had far too many times where I've let it rule days, weeks, months. And before you know it, you're no closer to the truth of what you were originally worrying about, or that situation, all those unrealistic situations that you were thinking about never actually happened, so there was no point worrying about it in the first place. And I feel like that's often the case.
Motivational speakers for me were the first positive influence I had in my life.
Yeah,
they really were. They were the first positive voice, and when I say positive voice, I mean positive without any caveats. So it wasn't, oh, you look nice today, but.
Yeah.
There was never a but with a motivational speaker. So that was the first time I had that much of an impact of someone saying, no, if you want to do something, and if you want to do it bad enough, you can do it.
Yeah.
And I got hooked on motivational speakers because they were they were dragging that mic away from that negative voice. And they were giving me an internal dialogue that was positive.
Yeah.
So even now, even to this day, I listen to motivational videos every week. Every single week, whether I've heard it 100 times or whether I've heard it twice, I will listen to that same video.
And isn't it amazing how every single time it just shifts your state right back to where you need to be?
Because you're giving yourself the thoughts that you will later rely on.
Yeah.
I always pull out quotes during these podcasts, and that's because I've listened to so many of these videos that give me them positive thoughts to think about, that they allow me to then share them with you. if you never have a positive internal dialogue, even a positive external dialogue, how are you meant to amplify those thoughts? You've got nothing to amplify if you don't hear them.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So if you really are struggling for that positive influence in your life, if you were like me and you couldn't find someone to give you pure positivity, go on YouTube, because there are people there that can give you that. Some recommendations are David Goggins, Eric Thomas, Les Brown. These are people that genuinely changed my life, and changed my life because they drip-fed positivity that just went banging around this echo chamber of my head. It just took me out of my current situation and allowed me to think in a different perspective. And that's all I needed at that time. So at uni, when you were struggling with not being able to complete your coursework,
Yeah.
do you think if you were introduced to David Goggins, to positive affirmations, do you think that would have changed anything?
100%, mate, yeah, because I was so stuck in that inner dialogue of negativity that I couldn't see anything else. Whereas when you watch those videos, you realise that the way that you've been thinking 100% isn't helpful whatsoever. And there's just so many times where I was stuck and I just wanted to feel unstuck and I didn't know what to do. And I really do think it is important, like you say, listening to motivational videos, because the people that do the motivational videos, like David Goggins, they haven't just got there without adversity. They've got there through exactly what we're going through right now. But the only difference is that they've adapted that mindset, and now they're in a position to sort of tell you. I know that's amazing. What I find about David Goggins is that, like, anyone can do it. It's not, oh, you need to be a superhuman. It's not Arnold Schwarzenegger's crazy bodybuilding physique. He was a normal guy that was struggling, that was overweight. And as soon as he adapted this mindset and just cut all the other bullshit out that just really isn't necessary, then he started to make a massive change in his life. So, in short, Jack, yeah, I do think it would have helped. And it's a bit of a shame that at the time I didn't have that kind of outlet. But now I'm glad I've got them, because I listen to them all the time, because they're amazing. They're life-changing. I know some people might think they're a bit cringy, but sometimes you need that. Sometimes you need to dream big and just be like, right, okay, I'm going to go for it now. And because at the end of the day, it's your life. It's nobody else's life. Nobody else is going to drag you out of bed and drag you out of these thoughts. And I think it's really interesting, because one of the scariest things about my suffering was I knew that I couldn't just take an antibiotic and it would go away. I knew that at some point the onus was solely on me to get out of this. But upon saying that, the motivational videos really, really supplement that kind of mindset, because like you say, you're getting perspective from someone that's been through all of this and has got to a place in life where they just absolutely smash it.
Well, I think what we do now is we repeat what we hear in the motivational videos with each other. And that, if you've got a friendship group, be positive. Be that positive person. Be that person who does dream big. Be the person who's not afraid to say it. Be the Conor McGregor, the person who's not afraid to say absolutely anything wild and truly believe it. Don't laugh at them. Internalize that, because it's a good perspective to have. You're always going to have the friend who believes the worst is going to happen, and
which was me.
As I'm saying this right now, you will be thinking about that one person in your friendship group who always thinks, "Oh, I know exactly who you're talking about."
Yeah.
Try and think about the person who always has a positive perspective, and I can guarantee it's so much more difficult.
Yeah.
It's so much more difficult to find them people. you've got to be them people. We have got to be them people. You've got to be the person who, when shit hits the fan, you can look around and you can pick everyone up and you can say, right, well, rock bottom's a great place to start, isn't it? And change the narrative.
And I feel like that's what our friendship group does really well, is pick each other up when we need to be picked up. Even if you were feeling low yourself sometimes, you can still pick somebody else up, which is an amazing thing. And I've done that loads of times. I'm actually really good at doing that as well. And so are you, but yeah, it's just...
One thing that's just popped into my head actually is when people share on social media lines that are to do with how we are victims, how the government are banning us from doing this, blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. When you become a victim and when you have that mentality, that is just more negativity being dropped into your brain, into your echo chamber that's being batted around. If you're going to share something on social media, share something positive, because there's enough fucking negativity out there.
Yeah.
Believe me, you don't need to go searching for negativity on social media. You do have to go searching for positive quotes, for genuine affirmations, for genuine strength building. I'm just giving you something that is great advice to help you be positive.
And it's really interesting. I want to speak about that, Jack, because that victim mentality that you've just been talking about is something that I feel every single mental health sufferer will have to deal with at some point.
Yeah.
And I really do feel like if you're listening and you're in that place right now, it's very, very easy to reject what anyone else is saying, even if it is positive. Because I know that, because I did exactly the same thing, and I was thinking, no, whatever they're saying, it doesn't apply to me, it wouldn't work for me. And they almost accept that this is the way that they're going to be. Like, I accepted that I'm always going to be anxious. I'm always going to be stuck in this depersonalized state. And it's just so not true at all. But the thing is, these people, including myself, you're convincing yourself of something that isn't true, and they're just like, oh, well, that's just who I am. No, it's not. Let's get that straight right now. I want to say that right now. It's not just the way that you are at all. Because if that was the case, I never would have recovered.
Yeah, I agree.
And neither would you. But it's just easy when you're stuck in that mindset to say, oh, I don't feel great, so I'm not going to do much. This is just the way that I am now. This has to be
I've
my
had a
existence.
tough day.
Yeah, and and as harsh as it sounds, like, sometimes you just got to fucking snap out of it and get the motivational video on, and just change your internal dialogue. Because I had that internal dialogue for 3 years, the same internal dialogue that was putting me down, and guess where it got me? Nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. So if you've been stuck in that for a few weeks, do yourself a favour, save yourself 2.5 years. And just don't do it, because it's not going to help whatsoever. I'm sure you can agree with me on that, Jack. We've both been down that road.
Mate, I was caught in the victim mentality to the point where not only was I convinced that I was a victim, I had convinced other people that I was a victim.
Yeah, and then you start,
So what happens, here's what happens, or what happened to me. I had a lot of things go wrong in my life.
Yeah.
And when I say go wrong, I just mean things that went against my plan, or the traditional route of life.
Yeah.
I had this narrative, and people even amplified it, of, oh, of course it's me. Or, oh, of course this happens to me. Or people had come to me and say, bloody hell, you're due some good karma soon. Yeah. And it promotes this mentality of, oh, well, you were wronged, so it's okay to feel the way you feel. Hold on a minute. Whoa, stop there. Someone said to me, everything in life happens the way it is supposed to. No, I don't care what you say. Everything in life happens the way it is supposed to. Whether you like it or not, whether it fits your narrative or not, you can't control what life is going to throw at you. The only thing you can do is control your response to it.
Yeah.
And if someone had told me that and someone said, no, you're not a victim, you're not... There's kids out there who are currently battling cancer and you're sad because someone broke up with you.
Yeah.
Are you all right?
Mm.
Everyone's life has its own challenges. Okay? Everyone's life has its own challenges. You see them as opportunities to improve. Don't see them as a reason to be a victim. Because it's easy to be a victim. It's hard to see it as a challenge and to overcome it and to have the strength to say, brilliant, bring this on.
I feel like you get comfortable in that victim mentality, at least I did.
Because you don't have to do anything.
Yeah, and then it's almost like, well, I don't have to go to work because, I'm anxious and then you can say that. But it's so interesting that what you've just touched on, because I'm not downplaying any traumas at all, because like you just said, everyone has their own traumas in their life.
Yeah.
And when they're on you, they're crazy. Like, for me, I just had the victim mentality of, fuck you don't know what you're talking about, my sister's died, and that's the end of it. I'm not going to get better. And it's so easy. You could do it with anything. You could do it with a breakup, you could do it with someone, I don't know, a family member dying. You could do it with any trauma. Bullying's a massive one that affects your self-esteem. But the problem is it doesn't get you anywhere. It won't help.
Yeah.
So what you've got to do, somehow, using the suggestions that we're giving you, is to get out of the victim mentality, because so long as you're in it, you're not going to be recovering. And me and Jack have been through some of the most horrific traumas that we'll speak about.
Yeah.
So if we can overcome it and overcome that victim mentality, then so can you. Does that make sense?
Mate, completely. Sometimes people just need... You needed this yesterday.
Yeah,
and
I did,
sometimes people just need a kick in the arse just to say, okay, you're feeling negative thoughts. We've been there. We understand how horrible it is.
Yeah, we get it. It's shit.
We are not downplaying it.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just need to be kicked in the arse, and you just need to be told that you need to strap on a pair, and let's just get going.
And that's exactly what Jack did to me yesterday. He sort of said,
in them words.
This is madness. What you're speaking to me about now is just lunacy. You've created this situation in your mind that just doesn't exist. And look at you. You're spending the whole day. You're spending your day off from work worrying about this. It's just pointless. But yeah, like I say, if you haven't got anyone like... I've got like Jack in my life and a few others that'll be real with me. If you haven't got that, do what Jack says and listen to your motivational videos. Because you can treat that like your friends, can't you? Which is exactly what you did.
100%, mate. 100%. Those people, I've never met them before, and they changed my life.
Yeah.
They've created... Inside of me right now is a burning passion. Just a burning passion to just be great.
Yeah.
I don't even know what great is. I couldn't even... If you ask me, well, what's great? I don't know. I just want to be it.
Yeah.
Get that person or get them people in your life that make you want to be great, that make you want more. If you've got... What's that phrase? If you've got 5 people... If you surround yourself with 5 losers, you're about to be the 6th.
Yeah.
Surround yourself with people who fill you with this positive dialogue. And if you're that person in a friendship group who's always given negativity, if you are that person, change your attitude.
Stop.
Or keep it to yourself, because nobody needs to hear negativity.
Often people are being negative in a friends group because maybe they're feeling like crap and they just want to bring other people down with them because they don't feel so alone then. But no, that's not what it's about at all. And if you haven't got the confidence to speak out, that's why the motivational videos are perfect, because you can listen to them in private until you do get that confidence, if that's what you're struggling with.
Yeah. The big thing is to change the dialogue. And the only way you can change the dialogue is by hearing a new one.
Yeah. It's just repeated patterns over and over and over
It is,
again.
mate.
And
it is.
It's so easy. Like I say, we've been doing it a long time, and even yesterday I got stuck in an internal dialogue that was just completely lying to me and completely attacking my self-esteem. But again, as soon as I spoke to that trusted person, which was obviously you, it got out of it. And it's very, very... As easy as it is to fall into it, if you've got the right techniques, it's very, very easy to get out of it.
True.
But just, again, a lot of the times when we have the victim mentality, it's almost because we're addicted to suffering, we don't want to come out of it. But I'm telling you, get out of it.
Because we want the worst case scenario.
Mm-hmm.
We want that worst case scenario. In the back of Lou's head, Lou wanted everyone to laugh at this podcast.
Oh, it's so true.
Lou wanted everyone to hate it. Lou wanted people to, because it fits his narrative.
Yeah.
Like the fact that everyone was just like, oh, this is a brilliant idea. This is really good. It was almost shocking, but it was completely expected from me.
Yeah, but that's what traumatized individuals go through. It's almost like you feel like you deserve the pain. You deserve that.
Is that victim mentality?
It is victim mentality, mate. Yeah, 100%, and through no fault of their own, of course.
No.
But yeah, it's still definitely a victim mentality that you don't need to be having.
Oh, it's funny how no matter how old you get, no matter how much you learn in life, you could go through your life being a victim until your deathbed.
Because it's comfortable.
You need to decide today that I'm not going to be a victim anymore. If you're listening to this, if you got this far because you are having these negative thoughts, because you are having this overthinking state, this is the time that you start feeding that positive side. This is the time where you draw that positive person. Give it a name. Give it a reason to be there. Give it a microphone.
I love that. Give it a microphone, yeah.
This is that chance. This is that opportunity. Because negative thoughts and overplaying these negative thoughts take the beauty away from life. If you're so focused on the worst case scenario, you forget what the best case scenario could be.
And that's so true. When we were in Ibiza last year, it's supposed to be like paradise, and I'm sitting there worrying about the worst case scenario in this and that. And
no, I'm going to tell this story.
Okay.
We were in Ibiza. Okay, we paid for a brilliant apartment. We overlook the sea. Beautiful weather. There's music by the pool. We're pretty hungover, but not hungover enough where you can't go out.
Yeah.
I said, "Oh, let's go down to the pool." And Lou had this dialogue in his head that just because there were some guys down there on steroids,
yeah,
he couldn't go down
like, nah.
to the pool.
I'll stay up here. I'm comfortable here.
No, I know I paid like $2.5 grand to get to Ibiza and stay in this place, but I'm quite comfortable in this hotel room.
Yeah.
No, this shade is nice. I'm more of a shade person.
Yeah, just telling myself anything
to make that story fit. Anything.
It's that idea of having to have perfection to sort of do something, but it's never going to be perfect. Like me, it goes back like even doing the podcast. I'm not going to do the whole podcast and not mess up once. It's just not possible.
Yeah.
But it's perfectionism. If you're waiting for perfectionism, you're going to be waiting forever because it's just not. It's not possible.
See, but this is why I'm saying to you, if you're waiting for I'll share this after the 10th podcast.
Yeah.
I'll share this after you're waiting for the perfect moment to share this. You're doing it right now.
Yeah.
If you wait for the perfect moment, it will never come. There'll never be a perfect moment. There was never a perfect moment for our mates to find out. But it just so happened that it was the perfect moment.
Yeah, because it happened.
But that's the thing. It needs to happen for it to be It needs to just happen.
Because then you'll never know, will you, I suppose?
Exactly.
I'll never know if I looked good, if I would have looked good in the pool, if I would have met some mates, or I don't know, I had the best day of my life getting smashed with people we don't know because I was sat upstairs in the hotel room looking over the balcony.
But how true is that? You know what? You don't even think about that until afterwards. Like, I wish back in Ibiza I would have said that to you.
Yeah.
I wish I would have had the ability to contemplate that, because I fed into, at that time, Lou's the negative narrative. And I'll happily admit I did that. I should have said to Lou, stop being a little bitch. Let's go down and let's just have a good time. We're here to have a good time.
Yeah.
And that's what, you know what, I make a promise now. Whenever we are away, whenever we're doing something, we need to promise each other that if someone's caught in this negative mentality, that we 100%, we just say, what is the worst that can happen?
Yeah, exactly.
What is the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
Because I can guarantee it's not as bad as the best thing that can happen.
Yeah.
I'd rather go in being that optimist. I'd rather go into a situation being this could be brilliant, and then be wrong. I'd 10 times rather that over.
Because also, I think it's like you say, you can't change the past, but it does fill you with regret when I think about being fed into that narrative in such a beautiful place and potentially having such a good time, and then it's like, well, you know, I was anxious then, next time will be better. Like you say, you just got to throw yourself into everything that you do, because if you start thinking about it, that's when it's all over, because we've got a natural inclination to think negative. And that's my opinion anyway. You
need people around you that'll do what me and Lou did just by making this podcast, just by doing it. Sometimes you've just got to do it. You just got to do something and think about it later.
You don't want to be around people that are going to make you feel like shit.
Yeah.
Going to make you feel like, oh, well, I shouldn't do that because of this reason and this reason. No. Absolutely no. So,
our summaries of this, if I was to summarise the process of negative thoughts, when they first occur, if you can, try and understand where they come from. Try and understand, is this me talking? Is this what I believe? Or is this someone else's thought? Is this someone else's thought that has been dropped into my echo chamber and I've just bounced it around a few times? Mm-hmm. That's the first thing to identify. Because if it's someone else, then you need to cut that person out.
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
And if you can't cut them out, then you at least need to bring them up on it and say, why are you feeding me this?
Yeah.
Why are you putting this into my echo chamber? Why are you doing that?
And often you'll find that it's just because of their own insecurities.
It is. So there's the first step. Find out where it's from. The second step, you need to give the other side just as much airtime as you give that side. For me, that's a very physical thing. It's giving that. It's looking at and touching. I sit there and you'll see me touching my chest because I'm physically feeling it. I'm physically saying, right, now it's your turn.
Yeah.
Draw it out. Think of a person. Think of any kind of design. Give it a name. I don't know. We'll name it The Rock. Give The Rock the microphone. Let The Rock speak.
It's The Rock. If you smell that's perfect. Give the Rock the microphone. The Rock says this.
Listen to your motivational videos. Let that echo. Let that bounce around in that echo chamber. Let that be your internal narrative.
Yeah.
And then once you've done that, and once you've built yourself to be I don't even care about what the worst thing that could happen is. What is the best thing that could happen? Once you've built that within yourself, then take it and build it within others.
Yeah.
Share that knowledge because it is such hard knowledge to learn.
Yeah.
It's so hard to learn how to be a positive person. It's so hard to learn how to be this. When everything goes wrong, you're the person who can give that positive attitude. Be that person. If you're struggling, if you're really struggling at the minute, you have the power to be that person.
Yeah.
You have the power. Everyone has the power to be the positive impact.
Mm-hmm.
So why are you being the negative one?
Yeah. Yeah, what's the underlying issue there? Why are you doing this? And it's also, I want to add one more thing, Jack, before you carry on, sorry. I was speaking to one of our mates the other day, obviously I won't name him. And it basically goes on to my point as to watch stuff, do things that make you feel good. Do things that are going to make you get out of bed. I don't know if it's a sport or if it's a favourite channel. Like the person that I'm speaking to, he said to me, when he's feeling a bit shit, he'll put wrestling on. Yeah. And he'll watch like all The Rock's best moments. He'll watch all these funny clips, and he says he'll get him dead hyped up, and then all of a sudden he's gone from being in bed to I want to do this, I want to do that. I'm feeling fired up now, and that's what you've got to get. You've got to find something that gives you that fire.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If that is The Rock, that's why I said it's funny how I picked The Rock. If that's The Rock for you, give The Rock the mic. You know what I mean? Give that whatever works for you.
Yeah.
Whatever is that positive impact, give it the microphone. Let it speak.
Yeah, it's like we could give you a million different things and they might not relate to you. Only you know what relates to you. And I feel like everyone knows what it is, but they might just be suppressing it. Like it might be something that you used to watch or used to do when you were younger.
Yeah.
All these other things, but as you get older, you start working and you can't do these interests anymore. Like for me, it was kickboxing. I always used to do kickboxing when I was younger. And then I went back to it a couple of years ago and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Why the hell did I ever stop doing this? It's so good. And you've got to do stuff that just makes you, you've got to have some goals in life. I really do feel like an important thing is to have goals so that when you wake up in the morning, it's like
you have a reason to get out of bed.
What's the goal? Okay, maybe it could be I want to lose weight. I want to build a bit of muscle. Right. Okay. So what do I need to do? What do I need to do to achieve that today? So it's like simplify it. Don't look. I think you said this to me the other day. You did say it to me. You said don't look at a year from now. Look at what are the simple things that you can do today to make a little change, and then just keep adding a brick and adding a brick. And yeah, I did steal that one off you, Jack, but it's true though. It really is true.
This is going back to our point. If you are that person, and if you do have that positive attitude, feed it to someone else. Fed that. I just fed that to Lou.
Yeah.
Will Smith fed that to me.
Yeah.
Be that positive impact, because there's not enough of it in the world.
Yeah.
And I think that is a brilliant place to end the podcast.
Yeah, man.
So, guys, please share this with someone. Share this one with a friend who you think needs some positivity in their life, who needs even if it needs a kick up the arse. Share this with them.
Yeah.
Subscribe, interact with the channel. We'll see all the comments, and don't forget, check up on your strong friend.